This is Clean at Work with John Barrett and Sarah Bacca.
Welcome to this next episode of Clean at Work.
Woo!
So this week we've got Chondima, who I've known for quite a few years through systemic modelling training with Caitlin. And lately, Chondima's been going on a really interesting exploration of using clean language, but in a slightly different way, using Better Conversations Foundation to really get this and other people's work out into the wider community. So it's a great privilege to have you here today.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Helen. You haven't introduced Helen.
I forgot that we've got a guest host this week. So Sarah was unavailable due to a couple of urgent challenges going on. So we brought Helen back as a guest host.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here and obviously get to spend some time again with Chandima, because we get to meet each other when we were talking about this very subject at one of our meetup groups. So I reckon we should just dive straight in and ask the question, how do you have better conversations at work?
Okay, but how do you have better conversations at work? So in terms of the things you can do, I think the one key takeaway, we have a kind of 6-week course, the one key takeaway we like people to have is to think about their state. If they learn nothing else, that's the thing. There's obviously a lot more in the course, but that's the thing. So by state, I mean what you're thinking and feeling. And both of those things, because they're entwined, as we now know. And if you can manage your state to be in the right kind of frame of mind for the conversations you're going to have, that helps you obviously have the kind of conversations you want to have. And it also helps the other person as well.
And I think that's important because quite often we, in business and in life, we go into conversations and maybe we've been frustrated or maybe we're not in the right mindset. And so saying about that state is quite important, because they always say, write an email, throw it away and then write a second one. So is that what you're trying to encourage people to think about when they have these conversations, to put themselves in the best possible place for success?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's what we kick off with. That's module 1. We introduce a really simple metaphor for that, which is using a traffic light model. And red, as you might imagine, is like stop, take a break or attend to your needs. It's not a bad state. It's just your body telling you something about what you need to do. Amber or yellow, that's, okay, proceed with caution. You might not be completely okay, but you're probably all right. And green is usually a better kind of state to have a conversation with. Let's go for it, and all your needs are met. You're good, you're at one with the world, if you like. You're open for creativity, all that kind of stuff, and that metaphor seems to really land with people, and people teach that to their kids even. So it just really simple things like that. That's what we're trying to get across to people.
So it sounds really easy. All I have to do is manage my state. But I'm sure our listeners, and certainly I've been in situations where, it's not always as easy as that. So have you got a couple of tips for how I can be better at that, Chondima?
So one of the things about the course is it's an introductory course. So we're leaving room for the people who are actually going to take this material and deliver the course to put their offerings in and kind of sit this alongside whatever specialities they have. So if it's a coach, an agile coach, I know there's a lot of people who'll be listening and looking at this podcast from that world. You could bring all the things into bear that will help improve things for the person or between people. So you can tell them to do things like simple breathing exercises, go for a walk, just take some time out, maybe use a reflection journal, all those kind of things. We're not advising as such, we're just leaving room for people to discover what works for them. That's the only advice I can give, is discover what works for you and do it.
And like better conversations, everybody agrees we need to have these things. What inspired you to do something like this?
Well, I was kind of inspired partly by my co-conspirator, I'm going to call him Simon Coles, who's long had this desire to use clean language within his company. He runs a software company, and clean language and generally clean based skills can really help with the culture in a team and in a bigger organization. Mm-hmm. So, I met Simon a few years ago doing practice sessions. I started working with him about 2.5 years ago. We set up the foundation, and I've always had an interest in resilience, organizational dynamics. I've managed teams, so I know, what it's like to try and get a bunch of people together to go in a particular direction and, achieve something, all whilst having fun, hopefully some fun in there. So, we spend a lot of time at work and a lot of our lives at work, and they can be great places to grow and to meet people, and they can be pretty hard places as well at times. So, that hence my interest in resilience. But also underpinning all of this, if you can improve your conversations, if you think about it, what's the smallest and broadest intervention you could do as a leader of an organizational team to improve or shape the culture? And that is just to improve the conversations that people are having every single day. And that's where we're starting, improve the conversations. Other things will emerge. Hopefully people will be more productive. There'll be fewer misunderstandings, less waste, fewer errors, all that kind of stuff. And you'll start to see much more productive and happier workplaces. So that's the kind of inspiration.
Yeah, because this is not just about, like leaders giving bad information, critiquing and horrible feedback. This is also about creating great leaders for the future as well. How can we praise people? How do we have general conversations? So it covers all of these different aspects.
It does. And it seems very simple. And we've had all sorts of people now through the course, and we've had coaches and therapists and psychologists and, people who are good communicators, managers, leaders, and somehow just taking it back to the essence and weaving a little bit of clean language through it, that seems to have an impact on them. And they go away thinking, oh, actually, yes, I can do that. I can walk away from the first session and think about my state. I can walk away from the second session and really check in with my assumptions and, how quickly I'm making those assumptions and what that might mean for the people around us. And we've seen that impact in teams when we do this with teams as well, that you could see over the weeks that we do it. There's this gradual change and the ability to speak up and ask for things that the people need, and recognize there's different working styles as well, and that's all through conversation.
Yeah, so you talked about it being a foundation. I've not heard of this kind of model before. Explain to our listeners what it means to be a foundation and what difference that makes.
Okay, so in the UK anyway, the word foundation is a reserved word. So you have to really be a charity or non-profit to be able to use that. So we are a non-profit. So what that means is what we've done, we developed the course and we wanted to give it away because Simon and I work in a software company and we're not really trainers. So, hey, take it, have fun, because we found it valuable. We want to share. We want to use that open source ethos that the software companies use. Then people started saying to us, well, actually, we'd like to know how you deliver this, because we've done a few pilots and things, but they wanted to know what's the kind of standard delivery. So we started, delivering, and we set up the foundation to be able to support that. And because it's a non-profit, currently it's all volunteer led. Yeah, so we're really asking people to step up and give us their time and their energy to us. We can, because it's formulated in that way, we can offer a limited amount of courses for free and support that. And we can also use the foundation to kind of provide some basic skills and resources into the course and the community that's growing up around that. Mm-hmm. So what it means to be a foundation is hopefully people see we're mission oriented. We want to spread these skills. We think they're really important today. not just clean language skills, but these general communication skills. Being a non-profit makes it very clear that that's what our mission is. And it helps people understand how they can work with us. And quite often other non-profits, are the type of organisations that are very happy to work with us. That's made a big difference in terms of people who are taking this material out, because obviously I said the material's available under Creative Commons. We're happy for you to commercialise that, go and make some money out of this and spreading this, because it won't spread unless it's a kind of sustainable model for everyone.
So this is like a stop the press moment. We're getting something that's going to help people to be improved conversations, their work life, probably even their home life. And so you're saying that I can take this material, I can use it to help people to articulate those better conversations. And I think earlier on you said that I can even add to some of this stuff. Like, what do you want in return? This sounds like an amazing deal.
Okay, yeah, well, we have a community. We'd like to hear your stories and your anecdotes of how this is spreading, because we only formed the community because people asked us. We set up the foundation to support people because they asked us. We set up the community to do the same. And we're, by encouraging each other and supporting each other and sharing that knowledge, that information, those skills, everyone benefits. And that's, if you think about the open source movement in software, we're sitting here talking on Zoom because of that. The whole lifestyle that we have is supported by that kind of tech and open source ethos, and we're just leaning into that, really. So tell us your stories, make opportunities for each other, support each other, because we can only put so much into the foundation ourselves because it's volunteer-led. The more people we have that are supporting each other, the further this is going to spread, and the more sectors and use cases we can start documenting.
And for those people new to clean language, because we have quite a few of those that listen in to the episodes, and if they wanted to go on one of these better conversation courses, how would they do that?
So we are a Better Conversations Foundation, so come and have a chat with us.
Okay.
It starts
That's
with a
simple.
short conversation. It's really simple. 15 minutes, 20 minutes of your time. What we want to do is see, what it is you want to do with this, what questions you have, whether you want to work with us, that kind of chemistry meeting. So very short conversation. We'll give you the details of how then to get on the course. As I said, there's some limited number of courses running through the foundation, but as I know you've had Pascal and Uma on this podcast recently, people like Pascal and Uma are taking this out on a commercial basis. There's different ways of accessing the material.
And when people go through this course, quite often I find there's always like an aha moment. Maybe it's a technique they've learned, maybe it's something that they've reminded themselves on. Like, what do you see when you've run this course or been present or you've got feedback? What do you think that technique or that thing is that's an aha moment for a lot of people?
I think right from module 1, the aha moment is like, oh, I better think about my state, because that's something you can influence, yourself. That's quite a big aha moment in the first module. I think as the course goes through, what we figured out as we've been running these is the pattern we use is we do a bit of an introduction and state check-in. We talk about a particular topic, the topic of the module. We might do a recap of the previous module. Then we put people into a breakout room. We debrief that breakout room, put into another breakout room. So we're doing 2 exercises, and then we have some reflections at the end. All we're doing is setting up 2 opportunities to have conversations in pairs in those 2 breakout rooms. And that's where we think the magic is happening. They're not facilitated. We just send people away to have those conversations. What we're seeing at the start of the course is people are still a bit unsure about, the course. They're new to the course. So we keep the breakout rooms short, about 4 minutes, 5 minutes. By about module 4, they're saying, even though we're giving 6, 7, 8 minutes, they're like, there's not enough time. You brought us back too early. And it's always great that, people want more. But you can see through the course as people get more comfortable with the material and they start reflecting and noticing things, they really get engaged with the material and just this habit of thinking about their conversations. So that's what we've noticed. There's a kind of gradual, so there's the aha at the start and there's a gradual, oh, I can do this. And some people have said, oh, wow, I can take this material and I can actually do something myself, don't have to rely on other people.
Yeah, I was thinking this kind of, and when I got into systemic modeling, it's like you go in thinking, oh yeah, I'm going to learn all of these new cool tools and techniques. And then you get in there and you realize, actually, that's not the thing I'm learning. I'm learning about myself. And that kind of, whenever that moment switches, is a huge kind of revelation, right? And that could be during the state work on part 1, as you said. By the time they've got to 4, they're already kind of talking more and more about, how they can use this in their system and how they can change themselves. That sounds like a really great journey that they're going on.
Yeah. And people come back, so we have different patterns through the course. One pattern is do the course as an attendee, have the personal impact, because if you intend to deliver this, I do believe this kind of thing, you need to understand what it is you're asking people to do. Come back and observe. You get access to like the way we set up as a delivery team. You can see the slight kind of chaos at the start before people come in. You can get to hang back with us in the breakout rooms and talk to us about what's happening, and at the debrief at the end. And then if people want to deliver this, they can practice facilitating. So each time they come back, actually it's the same course, but they're getting a slightly different experience, and their attention is in a different place. And you can see people who've never trained before, their confidence level as they start, doing some of the facilitation, it just goes up every week, as we support them through that. Of course, there's been trainers who've just taken this out because they're really good trainers already. So Judy Rees and Steve McCann, who I'm sure people will know.
Yeah, we've had them on.
They're probably the quickest to kind of engage and make this their own. So they came on our course and they already had their own course ready to go. So literally the next week they were delivering this, in their own style and in their own way. So it is possible if you already train and facilitate to take this on really quickly.
Right. So what's next for you and Better Conversations?
What's next? So we are constantly reviewing the material. So we're just changing it up again, and we're going to focus on intentional conversations in our new module 5. That's after a lot of observation that we've made about how people engage with the content. And we think, especially in a work setting, it's really important to know why you're having a conversation. And there are conversations you have to have, such as performance conversations, for example. And there may be also, a standard that you have to apply, or a certain, policy or something like that. So given that we're trying to deliver this into organizations, that's where our focus is to support the people in organizations, professionals who've basically got other things to worry about in their day jobs, to use this alongside whatever it is they're doing. And we're putting the support in place for that to happen. We're also enables scaling. So we have a web app which enables people to book and reschedule. And we're going to improve the technology. We're going to help people facilitate this much more easily because we're building a little app to help with facilitation. The other thing I think we're doing is to make sure that the course material itself stands up to scrutiny. So, again, we're deploying into organizations. You're going to have learning and development people, HR, all over this. And they need to know they can trust the material. So a lot of what I've been doing over the last 2 years or so is to put that due diligence in place. So if we're asked, we can show our workings, if you like. We can show all the research, all the science that backs this up. And so this is a good platform. This isn't just something we dreamed up in our lunchtime. This has actually got a lot of kind of knowledge and research behind this.
Any conferences, any meetups people can find you at?
Well, I'm doing John's meetup next week. I think that's going to be before this podcast comes out. But I'm speaking at a conference that the OU, so the Open University, and Business Agility Institute and the Connevin Company are holding on the 25th of September in Milton Keynes at the Open University campus. And the theme is leading through complexity. So we've been asked to speak on the OU. If you want to, well, you might want to come and listen to David Snowden. That might be the big draw, but we're on after him. So on the OU track of that conference. Yes, looking forward to that.
So lots of opportunities to get to meet you. And I'm sure people can reach out to you as well in the foundation. But I'm sure we'll put all of the details in the channel.
Yeah, so any final bits of wisdom or advice for our listeners before we leave them?
I mean, in terms of clean at work, I think it is entirely possible to take clean language and clean in general and weave it through whatever it is you're doing. I think that the key for me is to blend it and try and make it work within your context, because that's when it's most powerful. When people don't really notice you're doing that or you're adopting that kind of stance. And it just makes your communications so much better. And people will start asking you how you do it in the end. And then you can tell them, you can let them in on the secret.
Wise words.
Yeah, great advice. And definitely a theme that we're seeing in the last few episodes around how to weave this into your work. And you don't need to just stick to those classically clean questions. You can adapt and be cleanish. So that's the end for today. Thank you for coming and talking to us about better conversations. For those that did enjoy the podcast, please remember to subscribe so that you get those alerts as soon as a new episode comes out. But for now, stay clean.
Stay clean, everyone.